Welcome to A by Custom Cakes. Now today I have a treat for you all. Those who are really interested in decorating a cake, I'm going to show you how to do that heart-shaped cake using a cake round, and it's going to be from start to finish. If you have any questions, you can hit me up in the comments, but this is how we start. We start with cake rounds all the same size. These are 6 inches in diameter, and I use a 6-inch paper circle, which is a parchment paper circle, and I just folded it in half and then folded it again so it's in quarters, and it has an X shape. So all you do is imprint that X shape on the top of each cake. And the reason you're going to do that, yeah, I almost lost that one, but you don't adhere that to the board, because you're going to take those layers off. The only layer you stick to the board is the main layer, your bottom base layer. These layers, you're going to have to take them and put them on top, so you don't want to attach it to the board. So just be careful. It won't fall unless you do what I just did. So you just have to make the heart shape by icing the very top, the curved edge, and using those quarters you cut off, and attach it at the side from right where you cut it to the middle. And you just curve it a little bit. You're going to see as I place it, I curve it into the side of the cake and into the top of the cake, so it'll have that curved shape at the top of the heart. And you just press it in both sides. You see I just curved it slightly inward, just like that. And the buttercream helps it adhere. And you're going to put it in the refrigerator so it can get very firm before you stack it. Do not stack it at this stage, because it will pop off. Those edges will come off because it hasn't been secured yet with the buttercream. So we're going to put that in the fridge shortly, but let's do all of them at the same time. Again, you're going to follow that X shape, and you're going to start at the bottom left to the bottom right, and the bottom right to the bottom left, so that you get that V shape. And once you get those shapes on the bottom, you use those pieces you cut off and attach it to the top. You don't need that much buttercream, but don't be cheap. Don't be overly generous or overly cheap, because you want the piece just to adhere. It doesn't have to be a thick amount of icing. And I just smooth the excess icing. Now this is your base layer. This is the layer that you have to make sure it adheres to the cake board. Again, you're going to do that X, and you're going to cut from the bottom to the left and the bottom to the right. And once you get your cuts, you do the buttercream as you did before, but make sure you look at the size of the cake so that the bottom pointed part is where it should be, so that you have enough space on the top when you add those curved pieces. Because what's going to happen is you're going to do your borders, and you want to make sure that you're not coming off the edge of the board, and you want to make sure your cake is in the center of the board. So you kind of got to use your judgment to see how far down you should come on the cake board, so that the pointed side is maybe 2 inches at least from the edge of the board, so you have enough space to do the buttercream border. And the same goes for the top. You want to have enough space to make your borders when you're done. And once that's secure, you also put this one in the fridge, this layer in the fridge, and let it set up. Now they all have set in the fridge for about 10 minutes. I'm filling this with cream cheese because this is my red velvet, the fan fave. So I do my buttercream border. This is a must. And then I add my cream cheese filling. Now this cake is easier to do with just buttercream. Cream cheese is a little tricky because it's so soft that it moves. So once I put the other layers, they will shift. The other layers will shift slightly, but as you will see, as I go along, I'm kind of readjusting the layers because they do slide because of the angle of the cake. I'm still going to let this set up in the fridge as well. That helps. Once you put the cake in the fridge, the cream cheese will firm up a little bit. But it softens rather quickly. So when I take it back out the fridge, I got to make sure that buttercream dam is very secure. Once that's secure, then the cake won't budge. It won't slide anymore. But if it's still soft, that dam is still soft, that's the risk you're taking that the layers will start shifting again. So make sure that buttercream dam is nice and firm. And once you take it out the fridge, the final time, it should be all good and we'll be ready for the crumb coat. Right here, I cut a little V at the top of the heart to make it indent more. And if you want to try that, you can. If you don't have to, I just like to have that very overly curved top. I really like that look, but it's not totally necessary. It's a personal choice. Now with this crumb coat, you just go along. You don't have to be neat with this because you're going to do a final coat. So this is just to keep everything locked in, get those crumbs all situated away. I tend to use a small spatula to get in those little spaces. It's better for me. But you also can use the tall spatula. Whatever works for you, just go for it. Yes, this takes patience, but this was a part of the crumb coating process. Because of the shape, you have to make sure you cover all of those little angles and then put it in the fridge. Now once it's refrigerated, you take it out and you put your final color on. So take your time, and this part you can clean it up, make it as neat as possible. This is going to take a little time. It should be no more than 10 minutes, but depends on your skill level. And if you're not in a rush, you take your time. It's done when it's done. This one I'm using the bigger spatula to apply the color. The buttercream rather, not the colored buttercream. But then I'm going to use my scraper to smooth it out. And you should finish your scrapes at the edge, at the angles. Anywhere the edge comes in, that's where you should finish your scrape. And what I mean by finish, that's where you lift your scraper from the cake at the point where the angles are, because it's less noticeable. And that's the perfect area to clean it up, to make it nice and sharp. This cake is going to have a lot of borders and loops, so it doesn't have to be super smooth at all angles, because half of the cake is going to be covered with buttercream borders, so you won't even see any imperfections or anything. But just keep it as clean as possible. Now once you clean up the top, you can start to add your borders. And it doesn't have to be perfect at the edge because you will be covering all the edges with buttercream. Now when I did this loop, I just did it and I didn't like it and I scraped it off. So this is my second attempt, and that happens all the time. And I still made a little whoops, but I'm gonna fix that. Once the buttercream hardens, I can easily remove that little error I made. I can fix it. I actually wound up using a larger leaf tip because I didn't like that skinny leaf tip. It didn't do it for me. And I kept looking at it. It looked fine, but then I said, nah, I want it bigger. I need it to be bigger. So the final cake has a bigger leaf border. So I used a leaf border, also a leaf tip for the border. I also used a star tip for the border and my 1M tip for the top border. And I didn't do the shell pattern. I did more of a swirl using the 1M. You'll see as I do it. Now the very top, as you see, I have a top on there and it's covered with glitter. So you want to do that before you do your final top border. You want to not mess up your border, so putting a topper on after you put your border, you run the risk of damaging the border or messing up the border. So I will always put my topper on before I do my top borders. And you also put the glitter on after you put the topper on because the topper needs to stick to the buttercream. So you make sure your topper sticks to the buttercream at the top of the cake, then you flood it with glitter, but you do not remove that film that's on the cake topper. You know, it has a little plastic film. Let it stay on because once you're done with the glitter, you just use I use a tweezer and I peel that little film off so it's nice and clean. The topper is nice and clean as it, supposed to be at the end, and you don't have to worry about it being covered with glitter. That's a 1M border that I'm going in with at the top. You can do the regular shell tip, but I used the 1M because I thought it looks cute. So that's what I went for. Now I'm going in with some sprinkles, and your buttercream must be soft. If you're putting sprinkles on your cake, any type of decorations that go on the outside that needs to adhere to the buttercream must be stuck on while it's still soft. Do not try it when it's firm because it will not stick. I didn't like that leaf loop that I did, so I used a bigger leaf tip. You won't see it here. I didn't record that because it was something I did after, just before I was about to box the cake. I said, no, I don't like it like this. I want it to look different. It just wasn't giving. It wasn't giving with that little leaf border. So I went in with the big leaf border and that made it. And it happens when you're decorating. That's the process. Now here I'm pulling that film off like I told you, off the cake topper. And I'm using a tweezer and a toothpick to hold the other part of the topper down and not ruin my buttercream border like I told you, because I have not put this in the fridge yet, so the buttercream is still soft All the borders are still soft. Nothing is firm yet. So you take your time and peel off that film off the top of the happy birthday topper or the name topper. And that's it. It's nice and clean. So we're all done. That's the final cake. Like I said, I went in with a bigger leaf border, as you can see on the sides for those loops. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe. And until next time, peace.